Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. Today we're going to look at Unit 1, Lesson 3, Linear Equation Solving, a review. In this lesson, we're going to review solving two or more steps to isolate a variable like x. Please remember to pause or rewind the video as needed. Let's begin. We're on page 3 under the Fluency, Applications, and Reasoning section of our work. Let's take a look at the fluency part. Number 1, solve the following equations using inverse operations. So looking at A, I can see in order to get x by itself, I have to get rid of the negative 15 and the 7. So I'm going to start by looking at that. The opposite of minus 15 would be to add 15. Make sure you do it to both sides. Cancels. And I get 7x equals 16. Now, in order to get rid of the 7, I see 7 times x, we got to go opposite. So the opposite of 7 times x is divided by 7. And we get x equals 16 over 7. Now, 16 does not go into 7 evenly, so you get 16 over 7 or 2 2/7 if you turned it into a mixed number. It's fine to leave it like this. Sometimes our answers are not going to be what are called rational numbers, meaning they're not whole numbers, they're not nice, neat numbers. Sometimes they're fractions, and we have to be okay with that. Letter B. Well, in order to get x by itself, you have to get the opposite of adding 2 and the opposite of dividing by 4. Well, I'm going to start with dividing by 4 first. And I'm going to do the opposite of dividing by 4, which is to multiply by 4. And if I do that, I get x plus 2 equals, and on this side, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. One last step, the opposite of adding 2 would be to subtract 2 both sides. And negative 8 minus 2 would be negative 10. So here's an example where we did get a nice rational whole number, but doesn't always work out that pretty. Letter C. In order to get x by itself, we have to get rid of this plus 2 and this negative 3/5. Okay. How do we get rid of the plus 2? Well, the opposite of adding 2 would be to subtract 2 to both sides, and that's how we're going to begin. Now I have negative 3/5 x equals, and then 7 minus 2 would be 5. Well, how do we get rid of the negative 3/5? Well, it turns out to get rid of a fraction, all you need to do is multiply by what's called the reciprocal of that fraction. Well, the reciprocal is just taking this fraction and flipping it the other way. So the reciprocal of negative 3/5 is negative 5/3. Still negative, okay, but you can see 5/3 is the flip or the opposite inverse of 3/5. And we multiply by negative 5/3 both sides. So if you look here, 2 negatives make a positive. Then I also see that cancels with 5 and 3 cancels with 3. That's how you get x by itself. Okay, and over here we have negative 25 over 3, or negative 25/3. Yes, you could divide 3 into 25 and you get negative 8 1/3, but again, we'll just leave it like an improper fraction. Now in number 2, we're doing essentially more steps, okay? Slightly more steps. Instead of a 2-step equation, it's going to take us 3 steps, maybe more, okay? But what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at those steps, and then we're going to check to make sure the original equation has a true value for x, meaning we're going to check our work. So let's take a look. Well, my first step, if you look at here, I'm adding 1 to x, then I'm multiplying that result by 5, then I'm adding 4 to that result, then I'm dividing by 6. So if I focus on those 4 things I did, dividing by 6 is the last thing that's going on with x. Therefore, that's the first thing I'm going to do to solve it. So I'm going to multiply, because the opposite of dividing by 6 would be to multiply both sides by 6. Cancels, cancels. And I get 5 times x plus 1 plus 4 equals, and on this side, 4 times 6 is 24. Okay, now there's a couple things I could do at this point. I'm going to go ahead and distribute through parentheses. That means I'm going to multiply the 5 times the x and times the 1. So if I do that, I get 5x plus 5 plus the 4 that's out here equals 24. Well, at this point, combine your like terms, and we get 5x plus 9 equals 24. The opposite of adding 9 is to subtract 9. And we get 5x equals 15. Last step, we're going to divide by 5. And x equals 3 in this case. Or we hope it equals 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to check the work. Okay, so we're going to go 5, go parentheses, plus 1, plus 4, over 6, and we're going to see if all that is equal to 4. Okay, and remember, I'm plugging in my answer of 3 right in there. Okay, so remember, focus on what we did first. We added 1, then multiply that result by 5, then added 4, then divided by 6. We're going to do that in that order. So I'm going to start with this right here. That's going to be 5 times 3 plus 1 is 4, and then plus the 4 that's outside. And we're going to divide that by 6. Well, now I'm going to take care of the 5 times 4. So I get 20 plus 4 divided by 6, and we're going to see if that equals 4. Well, now I'm going to take a look at that. So 20 plus 4 is 24. Over 6 is 4. And 24 over 6 is 4, which equals 4. That is a true statement telling you that x equals 3, right, is your solution. Okay, letter B. Now, if you look at what's going on with x, we were subtracting 3 from x, then we were multiplying that result by 5, then we were dividing by 8, then we were increasing it or adding 2. So adding 2 is the last thing that's done to x, therefore it's the first thing you're going to do to isolate for x. So I'm going to start by subtracting 2 both sides. I get 5 times x minus 3 over 8 equals, and then 7 minus 2 is 5. Well, now I can see the next thing that's done to x is I'm dividing by 8. So the opposite of dividing by 8 would be to multiply by 8. Okay, and we get 5 times x minus 3 equals 40. Well, I can now divide by 5. Cancels, cancels. And I get x minus 3 equals 8. Okay, and then the very last step, the opposite of minus 3 would be to add 3. And I get a possible answer of x equals 11. And let's just check and see if that's true. Okay, writing down the original equation, plugging in our value for x right here in place of x. Okay, and I'm going to start by doing the first thing that is done to x, which is subtract 3. So we're going to go 5 times 11 minus 3 is 8 over 8 plus 2 equals 7. Well, 40 divided by 8 is 5. So this becomes 5 plus 2 equals 7. And then if I look at this side, 5 plus 2 is 7, which equals 7. That's a true statement telling you that x equals 11 is the correct answer. Letter C. Notice we are multiplying by negative 3 over 2 times x, but then we're also adding 2 to that result. So that's the last thing that's done to x, therefore that's the first thing we're going to do to isolate for x. The first thing I'm going to do is do the opposite of adding 2, which is to subtract 2 both sides. So I get negative 3 halves x equals negative 4 minus 2 would be negative 6. Now remember what we did a few problems ago. In order to get rid of a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal of that fraction. So the reciprocal of negative 3 over 2 is negative 2 over 3. And I multiply out both sides. Cancels, 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 and the two negatives cancel as well. And here, negative times a negative is positive. And so I have x equals 12 divided by 3, which is 4. Well, let's check and make sure that that is true. So I have negative 3 halves, parentheses for x, plus 2, and we're going to see if that equals negative 4. Okay, plugging in 4 right there in place of x. Okay, let's begin. So to evaluate this, remember, you're multiplying times the top, not times the bottom. So this becomes negative 3 times 4, which is negative 12, divided by 2, plus 2. We're going to see if that equals negative 4. Now, taking a look at that part, negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, plus 2 equals negative 4. And finally, negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4, which equals negative 4. That is a true statement, which tells us that x equals 4 is the solution to the equation. Okay, so on the surface, letter D looks pretty tough, but I'm going to tell you that questions like letter D and letter F are made easier if you just simply multiply through parentheses right away. So I'm going to multiply 5 times x n times positive 1. Then I'm going to multiply 2 times the 3 and times the x. And then I'm going to combine anything that looks the same. So multiplying through this one here, we get 5 times x is 5x, plus 5 times 1 is 5. Minus the 2x was already there, equals. Now on the right side, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 times x is 2x. Okay, so just kind of combining terms that look the same. 5x minus 2x gives us 3x plus 5 equals 6 plus 2x. Well, now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the numbers together by subtracting 5 to both sides. Then I'm going to bring my x terms together by subtracting 2x from both sides. So let's do this one step at a time. So I'm going to bring the 2x over here with 3x because those can add or subtract. And 3x minus 2x is 1x, or x. So x plus 5 equals 6. And then the last step, we're going to go ahead and subtract the 5. And we can see x equals 1, or presumably x equals 1. Let's check the work and find out. Okay, so we're going to go 5 and then x plus 1 minus 2 times the parentheses, and then we're going to go 2 times 3 plus x. So we're plugging in 1 in place of x everywhere you see x. Okay, let's figure this out. Starting with this, I think that would be 5 times 1 plus 1 is 2, minus 2 times 1 is 2. And over on this side, we have 2 times 3 plus 1 is 4. So taking a look at this part here, we have 5 times 2 is 10, minus 2 equals, and then we have 2 times 4 is 8. Over here, we have 10 minus 2 is 8, which equals 8. That is a true statement telling you that x equals 1 is the solution to part D. Okay. Now in part E, kind of the same really. You're going to have to do a lot of distribution to multiply through those parentheses. So let's multiply the 3 times the x and the negative 4. Now this one, we're going to be distributing a negative 2 to the 3x and the 4. Here we're going to be distributing a 4 to the 3 and the negative x. Okay, so let's do all that. Then we'll clean up everything by combining like terms that look the same. So 3 times x minus 4 would be 3x minus 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, next one. Negative 2 times 3x would be negative 6x. Negative 2 times positive 4 would be negative 8. Equals. Just going to move this over a bit. Equals. Now on this side we have 12. 3 times 4 is 12. And then 4 times negative x is minus 4x. And then just putting what else is here. 5x plus 4. Now cleaning everything we have on the left-hand side, 3x minus 6x, and then we're going to be going negative 12 minus 8. So 3x minus 6x is negative 3x, and negative 12 minus 8 would be minus 20. Okay, and on the right side, we have 12. So again, I've got my numbers. 12 plus 4, that's going to be 16. And then I have negative 4x plus 5x. Well, negative 4x plus 5x would just be positive 1x, so plus x. Okay, so here's how this one is going to look. We're going to go ahead and bring your x terms together. It doesn't matter how you do it. I could bring the negative 3 over with the x or the x over with the negative 3. It honestly doesn't matter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and subtract the x over to this. Negative 3x minus 1 more x is negative 4x minus 20 equals 16. Well, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add 20 to move that over. And I get negative 4x equals 16 plus 20 is 36. Last and final step, we're going to divide by negative 4. And x would equal, now 36 divided by 4 is 9. 36 divided by negative 4 is negative 9. Okay, and we're going to check to see if that is a solution. Okay, if I were to plug in -9 here, 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 and here, what do we get? So I'm gonna evaluate that down here, okay, where I have room. Okay, so on the top we have -9 minus 4, that's -13, so we have 3 times -13, okay, and then minus 2. And right here, you're going to go 3 times -9, which is -27, plus 4. Okay, and then on this side, we're going to go 3 minus a -9. Now, minus a minus is a plus. So that would be 4 times 3 plus 9, or 12. Plus, and then here we're going to go 5 times a -9, which is -45. So plus a negative is just minus, so minus 45. And then plus 4. Okay, so just cleaning this all this up, we have what? -39 minus 2 times the -27 plus 4 is -23. Okay, and that's equal to 48 minus 45 plus 4. Okay, so over here, let's see, so 2 times 23 would be what, 46? But negative times the negative would be a positive, so this is -39 plus 46, which turns out to be, let's see, 46 minus 39 would be 7. Okay, and over here, we're going 48 minus 45 plus 4, and you get 7 as well. So in other words, we get a true statement telling you that x equals -9 is the correct answer. Okay, and again, f looks more complicated than it is. The reality is we have to distribute through those parentheses to make it not look so bad, okay, or so intimidating. So I'm going to be multiplying the 1/2 times the 2 and times the 6x. So we're going to go 1/2 times 2 minus 1/2 times 6x. Okay, minus, and then you're going to do the same thing. We're going to multiply -4 times both these. So -4 times x plus a negative would be minus 4 times 3/2. Now out here, hiding out here, that little negative is actually a -1. So I'm going to multiply -1 times the x and times the -3. So -1 times x is -x, and -1 times -3 would be +3. And then we've got a plus 4 there. Okay, so cleaning this up, -2, or so 1/2 times 2 would be 1. Minus, and then over here we have 6x times 1 is 6x, divided by 2 is 3x, minus the 4x, minus, and here we're going to go -12 divided by 2, which is 6. Okay, and on the other side we have -x plus 3 plus 4, which would be -x plus 7. Okay, let's combine terms. 1 minus 6 is -5. And then here, -3x minus 4x is -7x. So -7x minus 5 equals, over on this side we have x plus 7. Okay, let's go ahead and bring our terms together. So I guess I'll go ahead and add an x over here. Okay, and now negative 7x plus 1x would be negative 6x minus 5 equals 7. Okay, now solving for x, I need to get rid of the 5 and the 6. I'm going to start by adding 5 to both sides. And I get negative 6x equals 7 plus 5 is 12. Last apparent step here would be to divide by negative 6. And x presumably equals negative 2. But let's check. I'm going to go 1/2 times 2 minus 6 times x, and then minus 4 times x plus 3 over 2. And then we're going to go negative 1 times x minus 3, and then we're going to add 4 to that. So what we're plugging in is negative 2. So negative 2, negative 2, and negative 2. So let's clean this up. Over here, negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. So 2 plus the 12, this part right here, would be 1/2 times 2 plus the 12 would be 14. Minus, now we have negative 2 plus 1.5 plus 3/2. Well, negative 2 plus 1.5 is, so we have the negative 2 plus 1.5 would be negative 1/2, essentially. That's negative 1/2 times 4. Okay, and over on this side, we're going to go negative 2 minus 3 would be negative 5, and then we're going to add 4 to it. Okay, so just kind of cleaning this up, 1/2 of 14 would be 7, minus, or actually minus a minus is a plus, so plus 1/2 of 4 would be 2. That, of course, gives you 9. Okay, and on this side, we have what? We have 4. So we have negative 1 times negative 5 is positive 5 plus 4. That also is negative, or is positive 9. So 9 equals 9. We get a true statement telling you that x equals negative 2 is our solution. In the real world, many scenarios may be modeled with linear equations like the one you've seen so far. Sometimes, though, linear models may not give viable results, and we must interpret the answer that we find. To see an example of this, let's look at the following. Number 3, a tile warehouse has an inventory at hand and can be put in for a back order from a supplier of bundles of tile. Currently, they have 38 tiles of a certain kind in stock and can only order more in groups of 12 per tile, 12 tiles, per bundle. The equation that represents this is as follows. The number of tiles, right here, whatever that is going to equal this expression 12b plus 38, where b is the number of bundles. And remember, it can have 38 of any certain kind. So it's 38 plus 12 times however many bundles there are. Okay, so what that means is 12, so 38, sorry, change that, 38 plus 12 times however many bundles there are, right, is going to equal 150 tiles, the number of tiles. Well, let's solve this for B so we can figure out how many bundles need to be ordered. So there's 2 steps to this, of course. We're going to go ahead and subtract 38. And we get 12b equals 150 minus 38 is 112. Now, 12 does not go into 112 evenly. That means without a remainder. So we're going to round this. So 112, we're going to go 112 divided by 12, and we get a value of about 9 and 1/3, about 9.33 bundles. Okay, but what we need to know about this, okay, we're first finding how many you ordered, but here's the thing. You can't order a third of a bundle. This is 9 and 1/3 bundles. You can't order a third of a bundle. So what you have to do is we would have to do what? We would have to round. So we'd have to round to the next, in order to get 9 1/3 bundles, you have to round to the nearest whole number, which would be 10 full bundles. Okay, so again, we needed to round because we cannot have 1/3 of a bundle. Part B. If the store likes to keep 30 tiles in stock at all times, how many bundles do they need to order after selling 150 tiles to the customer? Think about how many you had left over from the customer who ordered 150 tiles. Okay. So if we think about this, we have different, I think what might be confusing about this is we have different units. You have tiles and you have bundles, okay? And so we can kind of put them in sort of a familiar unit. Remember, the groups, every single bundle is 12 tiles per bundle, okay? So one of the things that we know is the answer we got, the 10 bundles. So let's start there. 10 bundles. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this times the fact that there are 12, or excuse me, one bundle would be 12 tiles. You could see the units cancel there, and the mathematics is just 10 times 12. Okay, and so we're looking at 120 tiles in those 12 bundles. Okay, now keep in mind, you always want to, if we go to our equation, $120 tiles plus the 38 that are already available would equal 158 tiles. Okay, so what that means is 158 minus the 150 tells you that there are 8 tiles left over. Okay, now here's the thing though. If you take the fact that the store wants to keep 30 in stock at all times, what that means is if I take 30 tiles minus the 8 tiles, I get 22 tiles that are needed. Okay, and so if I go 12B plus the 22 instead of the 38, 12B, so 12 times the number of bundles equals 22 tiles, and I solve for the number of bundles, I get 22 over 12, which doesn't go into it evenly. 24 over 12 is 2. If I divide 22 divided by 12, I get about 1.83 tiles. Okay, so here's the thing. I basically need what? I need to order, I got to round that up. Round that up to what? 2 bundles. 2 bundles. Okay, so in order to get, it's not bundles, it's bundles, not tiles. Okay, but I can't have 1.83 bundles. I got to round it to the nearest whole number to make it work. Okay, so kind of a complicated question, but essentially it involves taking the math that you're doing and learning to kind of round it up or down as necessary. Okay, kind of a tough question, but now for the reasoning part 4, what you're going to do is you're going to look at each step that was done. Okay, and I see basically, here's the original question right here. Here's the first step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, sixth step, and then the answer. Okay, and then here's the question. So now looking at your steps 1 through 6, what step seems to be the mistake? And then circle it. Well, let's look at one step at a time. So if you look at the original question, what do? They multiplied. They're trying to get rid of the dividing by 5, so they multiplied both sides by 5. Well, that part looks right. That's right on. Okay, now, so you end up with, if you subtract that, if you cancel the 5s, we end up with negative 2 times x minus 3, and then over here, 5 times 4 is 20, so that looks right. Okay, then we're going to distribute negative 2 times the x, negative 2 times the negative 3, and negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times the negative 3, there's the mistake. Negative 2 times negative 3, negative times a negative should be a positive. So I'm going to circle this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in here. Negative 2x plus 6 equals 20. Now go ahead and finish. Let's finish out the question correctly. So we've got to subtract 6 both sides. Cancels. We have negative 2x equals, 14? Divide by negative 2 both sides. Looks like x equals negative 7. Okay, that concludes our video tutorial here. I hope you found it to be of use and helpful. Remember to pause or rewind as you need to, and we'll see you next time.